last part of our revision, part 4. And in part 3, we finished till question number 21. So we'll start with question number 22. We were already discussing about karyotypes. So this is a karyotype. Karyotype, it's a picture in which we see all the chromosomes in a cell, and they are arranged in pairs. They are arranged like from the ones according to their size. The bigger ones are first, and then the smaller ones are the last. So this is a karyotype. Then scientists, they examine the number of chromosomes and they check for abnormalities. A normal human cell has 46 chromosomes. You all have studied that, you know it. 23 pairs of chromosomes in a normal human cell. But if there is an extra chromosome or a missing chromosome, then it means there is a genetic disorder. So scientists, they examine the structure of the chromosomes. They look if the chromosomes are of proper shape, if they are broken, if they have any missing part, if they are duplicated or they are rearranged. So they will check for these to see if there is any genetic abnormality or any genetic disorder. So karyotypes, they help diagnose genetic disorders, such as, these are some examples: Down syndrome, Turner syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome. We have done it in the previous question also, if you remember. Let me get back to that slide. Here. Here. If you remember, this is like Klinefelter syndrome, in which there is a male with an extra X chromosome. So there are two X's and one Y chromosome. Then you have the Turner syndrome. Turner syndrome has like only one X chromosomes. It is, this is Klinefelter. We have done this earlier. So this is a continuation of the same topic. Here you see that in Down syndrome, it is caused by an extra chromosome. So it is trisomy. There are 3 chromosomes in chromosome number 21. So if you go to here, chromosome number 21, instead of the normal a pair of chromosomes, you see that there are 3 chromosomes. So if they give you this karyotype and show you a 21 chromosome with a red square mark, it like 3 chromosomes are here, and they ask you which genetic disorder is it going to be, then you are going to like remember this, that this is Down syndrome. Turner syndrome is caused by missing X chromosome in females. So, you know, in females, there'll be 2 X. If one is missing, there's the Turner syndrome. Klinefelter syndrome is caused by an extra X chromosome. So in males, normally it is XY, but if there are 2 X's and 1 Y, it is Klinefelter syndrome. If you get back again to that slide, you can check here. Klinefelter, it has an extra X. So this is Klinefelter male, because there is a Y. In Turner syndrome, there is 1 X missing. And in and this one, when there is only a Y chromosome and no X, we say OY, this can result in death. This came in one of the exams where they've asked like which of these would result in death. So it is OY. Okay, so let's get back. Then here, karyotypes can be used before birth, when the prenatal, before the birth testing is done, so that the chromosomes can be identified if they are, is there any abnormality in the developing baby or is it normal? So if you can see here, this what I was talking about, they will give you the karyotype and say, now this is which disorder. So this is, because you see 21 has 3, this is Down syndrome. Why is Down syndrome called trisomy 21? Because in 21 chromosome, instead of the normal 2, there are 3 extra chromosomes. So the syndrome results from an extra chromosome 21. What could explain a human karyotype showing 47? 47 means there is 1 extra, so trisomy. Why does non-disjunction occur? Because the chromatids are not separating properly. Having 1 chromosome is monosomy. So you go through these questions, pause the video, have a look at the questions, and question number 23 will be talking about stem cells. So stem cells are 2 types, embryonic stem cells and adult stem cells. They want you to differentiate between the 2 types of stem cells. So you know that when the embryo is being formed, The cells, they divide, but they are not specialized. What are they going to become? They will specialize or differentiate later and form different type of cells. That is called cellular differentiation. Cellular differentiation is a process by which an unspecialized cell develops into a specialized cell with a defined function and structure. So here this is cell differentiation. Certain cells called stem cells, they have this ability to undergo cell differentiation. So stem cells are type that can be uh, differentiated into different types. They become specialized cells. There are two basic types of stem cells, the embryonic and the adult stem cells. These are the adult, which are found in organs of or in tissues. But here, this is in the embryo. That's why embryonic stem cell. So embryonic stem cell, after the fertilization takes place, the cell keeps dividing and it forms about 100 to 150 cells. These cells have not become specialized till now, so they are called embryonic stem cells. So cell differentiation is very important because it results in the formation of different types of cells and then tissues. So as the development will continue, the DNA in specific embryonic stem cells, it receives signals to produce RNA, and this becomes, then it forms specialized cells. So as the embryo continues to divide the cells, they will form tissues, organs, and organ systems. If separated, each embryonic stem cell, if we separate an embryonic stem cell, it has all the DNA and it can form a wide variety of specialized cells. But this is very controversial topic, whether we should use it for research or not, because of ethical concerns about like from where we got the cells. Then the adult stem cells, the second type, they are found in adults. As adults, animals have stem cells that can differentiate into specific type of cells that are surrounded. Like here, this is the adult stem cell. It can form red and white blood cells. It can form bone cell. It can form fat cell. So these are the adult embryonic cell. They are found in various tissues in the body and they can be used to maintain and repair the same kind of tissue. Certain kinds of adult stem cells also might be able to develop into different kinds of cells, providing new treatments for many diseases. Research with these cells is less controversial because the consent of the donor can be taken. So, scientists are trying ways to grow stem cells in cultures, cell cultures, so that they can generate special type of cells. For example, they can use stem cells to repair cardiac tissue after an heart attack, or restore vision in a diseased or injured eye, treat diseases like diabetes, or repair spinal cells, reverse paralysis caused by injury. So, the study and research is an important breakthrough for many treatments. So, here it is a compare and contrast about the two. Both have unspecialized cells that can become specialized. In adult, they come from various tissues in the body. They are present from infancy through adulthood. Embryonic, only 150 cells are formed before, after fertilization, and they become specialized as the embryo grows. So here now pause the video and see the questions. What is the process by which an unspecialized cell develops into a cell with a specific structure? Cellular differentiation. What is the characters? They are not locked into becoming one type of cell. They can form more type of cells. Adult stem cells mainly found in bone marrow, where embryonic stem cells harvested from in the laboratory, from the inner cells. From here you get the embryonic stem cells. But this is controversial, right? What is the major role in adult stem cells? Repair and replace the damaged cell. Embryonic stem cells develop into many different type of cells. So these are some more questions. Then we come to question number 24. It is about the integumentary system, the structure of the skin. So you should know the labeling. These are the sebaceous glands, the muscle, artery, vein, nerve. Then you have the sweat glands, Sweat glands, the sweat pore, hair follicle, fatty tissue sebaceous layer. This is the dermis and epidermis. Learn the labeling. So, organ system, this is the largest organ system or organ that is covering our body. It is the main organ of the integumentary system, the skin. It has four types of tissues: epithelial, which is forming the epidermis. Then there's connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nerve tissue. Four types of tissues are present in the skin or the integumentary system. The outer layer is the epidermis. There are two main layers, epidermis and dermis. Outer one is called epidermis. It consists of epithelial cells, and it has, the cells here contain keratin. And this is a protein which makes it waterproof. So keratin is a protein that makes it waterproof and protects the cells and tissues that lie underneath. The outer cells are dead and they are continuously shed from the skin. And the layer just below here, this can keep making new cells and replace the dead and the worn out cells. So the inner layer, it contains cells that continually are dividing by mitosis and replacing the damaged and the dead cells. Then here, in the inner layer of the epidermis, there is a special pigment which provides protection from harmful ultraviolet radiation called melanin. So melanin is a pigment, it absorbs light energy. It protects the deeper cells, and so it protects from the damaging effect of the UV rays of sunlight. So when there is more exposure to the UV rays, more melanin is produced, and this results in the suntan. If you go out in the sun for a long time, you get tanned. This is because more melanin is produced. Then below the epidermis, just beneath it, is dermis. It is a second layer. It is 15 to 40 times more thicker than the epidermis, and it consists of connective tissue that prevents the skin from tearing and also enables the skin to return to normal state after being stretched. So it contains other structures like nerve cells, muscle fibers, sweat glands, and hair follicles. Beneath the dermis is the subcutaneous layer here, a layer which is connective tissue and it stores fat and helps the body to retain heat. So the structure of the intake of the skin. Integumentary system also consists of the the hair and the nails. What are the functions of the integumentary system? The integumentary system helps in regulation of the body temperature. It helps in the production of vitamin D, protection, and perception of one's surrounding. So it regulates, first thing, it regulates temperature. When you are working outside, you're playing, or you are outside on a hot day, what happens? Your body temperature, you will start sweating. And when that sweat will evaporate, it will absorb heat from your body, and it will absorb the heat from your body, and it will give it a cooling effect. So what happens when a person gets cold or frightened? Even when you're frightened, what will happen? The muscle cells, they make the hair stand, and like goosebumps are formed. This helps, if the animal like feeling cold, the hair will stand, so the body will be able to, like, insulate the heat and then protect the animal from getting cold. So the cat appears larger, perhaps this is maybe to scare the enemies. Also is a mechanism for trapping air, which insulates or warms the mammal. So it can also trap air to warm the mammal. Also, it can scare, because of scaring. Humans do not have so much hair as most other mammals, but we get goosebumps. And this is the same type. The muscle cells are making the hair stand. The other function is vitamin production. Our skin responds to exposure to ultraviolet rays by producing vitamin D. Vitamin D increases absorption of calcium in the bloodstream, and it is essential important for the bone formation. So many food products like milk, orange juice, etc., they are now fortified with vitamin D because in UAE we are not going out so much in the sun, so vitamin D production becomes less, and that's why we have to take some supplements for vitamin D. Then protection and senses. Intact skin prevents the entry of microorganisms. If there are no cuts on the skin, there will be it will not let foreign substances or microorganisms enter the body. Skin helps maintain body temperature by preventing excessive water loss. Skin protects against ultraviolet rays by melanin and also informs about the changes in the environment. Temperature changes, pressure changes, which will be informed to the brain. So these are the functions of the integumentary system. Here are some questions. What important function does the bottom skin layer in the image have? Bottom one here, regulate temperature because the top is waterproof. Top is what absorbs sunlight, opens for all top. So the bottom one will be regulate temperature. Pigment called melanin absorbs sunlight. Then keratin is found where on the epidermal cells in the top. Which of the following statements are true for the keratin? What does keratin do? Makes it waterproof and protects the underlying cells and is contained in the outer epidermis. Here you have to the vocab and the definition. Difference between the two layers, dermis and the epidermis. Which type of tissue contracts, causing hair and skin to stand up and form goosebump? Muscle. Which of the following lubricates the skin and hair? It makes it like oily. It's the sebaceous gland. Which structure produces oil? Sebaceous gland. Which layer of the skin continuously divides? Inner epidermal layer. Which are found in the dermis? Fat cells. Because muscles which are not found in dermis, muscles are found. Fat cells are below the dermis, beneath the dermis, not in the dermis. Coloring in the skin and melanin. So Rebecca and several friends are at the beach. By the end of the day, the girl's skin has begun to tan. And questions about tanning leads Rebecca's friend to ask about the purpose of the skin. Rebecca's father is a dermatologist and she asks him about the different functions. What is one answer Rebecca's father gives? The layer skin prevent feelings of pain? No. Heat absorbed by the skin warms the body. So one skin layer makes vitamin D for the body. So this is the correct answer. These are some more questions. Pause the video and read these questions and see if your answer is also the one which is marked here. Question number 26 again is related to integumentary system about damage to the skin. What are the damages that can happen to the skin? So there can be cuts and scrapes. If there's a mild scrape, a minor scrape, just like, if you hit against a wall, your hand or something, it is scraped a little. This is just in the epidermis. Cells deep in the epidermis divide to replace the loss of the injured cells. So they will divide and they will replace it. But when the injury is deep and blood vessels might be injured, so there can be bleeding, blood flows out of the wound and a clot is formed. It becomes a clot and this clot will form a scab. It becomes hard and forms a scab, and beneath the scab, the cells multiply and they fill the wound. After some time, the scab will fall off and the skin is intact then. Infection fighting white blood cells can also help the bacteria that enter the wound. Then effects of the sun and burns. That elderly people and people who are standing more in the sun, their skin gets wrinkles because the elasticity decreases in the elderly people. Exposure to ultraviolet rays from the sun, it can accelerate, make it faster, and can result in burning of the skin and damage. It can also have some damage to the skin. Burns, whether caused by sun, heat, or chemicals, they are classified according to how severe they are. So there can be three types of burns: first degree, second degree, and third degree. First degree are minor burns. which do not involve like deeper layers, only the epidermis. A burn that blisters or leaves a scar on the skin is a second degree burn. It is damage to both epidermis and dermis. Third degree is more severe burn. The muscle tissue, the nerve cell, both the dermis and epidermis are destroyed, damaged, skin function is destroyed, and maybe the healthy skin will not form. It has to be transplanted from another part of the body. So that is a third degree severe burn. So here you can see it shows you first degree, second degree, third degree. Only epidermis, here epidermis and dermis are injured. Here the epidermis, dermis, and nerve cell, muscle cells are injured. This is like function is lost, healthy skin has to be transplanted, nerve cells are damaged, not so much of pain. Here, blister and pain, second degree, you form blister. In first, just it becomes a little red, swelling, and light, mild pain. So these are three degrees of burns. So here they have given you a question, for which type of burn is there usually cells deeper in the epidermis die? Cells in the dermis are injured and may die, a second degree. Which type of burn is there usually cells in the epidermis are injured, first degree. Which type of burn is there usually cells in the epidermis and dermis die? Nerve cells and muscle cells are injured, third degree. Redness and mild discomfort, first degree. Here they are showing you this. Which of the following represents effects of second degree? Second degree will have blisters and pain. So you should know the three types of burns. Question number 27 will be on skeletal system. It will be about the bone types of bones. You know there are two types of bones, compact and spongy. So you have to compare and contrast between them. See the figure, the labeling. This is the long bone. Outer part, smooth one, which we see is the compact bone. The one which has pores in it, which is porous, this is spongy bone. And the ends of this has a cartilage. Then there is a marrow cavity. This is an osteon system, artery and veins and spongy bone, and these are the osteocytes. So what are compact and spongy bones? Bone is a connective tissue and it has different shapes and sizes. They can be long bones, short bones, flat bones, irregular bones. Arm and leg bones are examples of long bones. Wrist are short bones, flat bones like our skull, and vertebrae are irregular bones. So the outer layer of all bones are composed of compact bone. It is dense and strong. It provides strength. It provides protection. Then running the length of compact bones, we can see osteons, which are also known as the Haversian system. It contains blood vessels. You can see it contains blood vessels and nerve cells. Nerves also. The blood vessels provide oxygen and nutrients to the osteocytes. These are the osteocytes, which are the living bone cells. The center of the bones can differ greatly. Now there is a spongy bone. As the name tells you, it is less dense and has cavities in between, like a sponge, and contains bone marrow. Spongy bone is found in the center of short and flat bones and at the end of long bones. Spongy bone is surrounded by compact bone and does not contain Haversian. So this is one difference between compact and spongy bones. You should know the differences. The same figure, osteocyte. Here you can see the Haversian system. What is the difference? This can be seen outer layer of all bones. It is the inner side of bones, surrounded by compact bones. It is found in the center of short and flat bones and end of long bones. Compact bones are dense and strong. Spongy bones are less dense and has many cavities with bone marrow. They are tube-like structures, osteons of Haversian system in compact bone, and which has blood vessels and nerves, but this spongy bone do not contain them. It provides strength and protection. Blood vessels provide oxygen nutrients. It helps for blood cell formation. Now here are some questions based on it. Spongy bone contains cavities, the labeling, spongy, compact, the marrow cavity, and this is the cartilage. You should know the labeling. Here are the definitions of these. What is the characteristic of the portion of the bone indicated? Now this is which bone? Spongy. What does it, what is the characteristic? It contains no living cells. It contains bone marrow. So this is about the two types of bones, these questions. Again here, pause the video and read the questions. Now we come to question number 28. It is about, again, skeletal system, about what are the steps that occur during bone repair. How does the bone repair? So firstly, if there is a fracture, fracture is when a bone breaks. So there are very several steps in which the bone repairs. First, a clot forms, clotted blood forms in the space. Then the connective tissue fills the space in the broken bone. Eventually, osteoblast produce new bone tissue. So these are the steps. First thing, the brain releases endorphins. These endorphins come to this area. They temporarily relieve the pain. The injured area in the fracture, it swells up immediately. We call it inflamed. It becomes inflamed, it swells up. Blood clot forms between the broken ends. And then a cartilage forms here. This cartilage is called a callus. Callus forms at the break. Then osteoblast from the spongy bone around the fracture. The osteoblast will form spongy. So after this, first cartilage and then spongy bone forms, and then the compact bone is replaced, the spongy is replaced by compact. So osteoclast will remove the spongy and osteoblast will form the compact bone. So these are the steps of the repair. Firstly, remember this, osteoblast are bone forming cells. Whenever cells have to be formed, osteoblast. The living cells are osteocyte, and osteoclast break down bone cells, and the process of making bone cells is ossification. So here you have to place the following steps of bone repair in the correct order. So what will be the first one? The bone is broken. After that, what happens? It produces endorphins, which reduce the pain. After that, what happens? The clotted blood forms in the space between the brokens. First clot. After that, a callus is formed. First the bone is broken, the brain produces endorphins, injured area swells to protect the repair site, then a clot is formed, and then osteoblasts form callus, and then they remove spongy bone and osteoblast. So that will be the last one. So here, the questions, pause the video and read the questions and see if you know the answers. What type of cells are working during this bone repair here? Osteoblast, because callus is being removed. Callus is being formed here, so osteoblast. Anything formation of bone cells has to. What cells produce spongy bone at the site of the fracture? Again, produce bone, osteoblast. Which part of the repair process to heal a broken bone? Osteoclast. Remove the bone cells to clean the site. Because endorphin will not cause an inflammation. Osteoblasts form rigid structures? No. Blood clot temporarily keeps blood from the bone? No. So that's the right one. What are the living bone cells called? Osteocytes. Bone breaking cells are called osteoclast. What is the function? To break the bones. So see, living bone cells, osteocyte. Formation of bone cells, osteoblast. Breaking of bone cells, osteoclast. Okay, then the figure below shows the steps of bone repair. Which one is the first? So first this clot, after that callus, and then the report is bone. See again the sequence. First fracture, swelling, then callus, then remodeling. Callus formation, what is the next step? Remodeling. What happens during callus formation bone repair? Spongy bone is formed. What is the primary role of osteoblast? Production of a new. So you can see the same type of questions have been asked. Now we come again to question number 29. That will also be the same. Repair of bone, which we just discussed. Firstly, fractures are two types. It can be a simple fracture, compound fracture. Simple fracture when the bone does not protrude from the skin. If it comes out, protrudes from the skin, it's a compound fracture. When there is a fracture, endorphins are chemicals produced by the brain. They will relieve the pain, flood the area of the injury, reduce pain for some time. Then, secondly, it becomes swollen, inflamed. About 8 hours, blood clot will be formed. Broken ends of the bone now begin to form. Endorphin, the release of endorphins and formation of blood clot, they are feedback mechanisms. Then the tissue of the body send communicate signals to the body. Fracture repair begins with a soft callus. First, a callus is formed or a mass of cartilage forming at the location of the break. Then the callus, about 3 weeks later, osteoblast, they form a callus made of spongy bone that surrounds the fracture. The spongy bone is then replaced by compact bone. Osteoclasts remove the spongy bone, while osteoblast, they will produce the stronger compact bone. After this is done, then there is remodeling. Bones require different amounts of time to heal. Age, what are the things which depend the healing? One is the age, nutrition, location, where it is, and how severe the break is. So this is a diet. Person's diet will slow down. If not, there is no calcium in the diet, it will slow down the bone repair. Younger people, it will heal faster than older people. So this is about the repair. Then question number 30, the last question is on your skeletal system, joints. What is a joint? It occurs at two or more bones meet. They can be classified according to the movement and the shapes of their parts. So there are 5 kinds of bones, kinds of joints: ball and socket, pivot, hinge, gliding, and sutures. So you should know where it is found and what is its like function. So ball and socket joint, the ball like surface is fitting into the socket like part of the other bone. These joints they are found in the hips and shoulders. They allow more movement. You can swing your arms and legs, so more movement is allowed in all direction. Pivot is rotation, mainly joint rotation. One is our example of our elbow joint where two bones of the lower arm meet. So you can just rotate your lower arm. This joint allows a person to twist the lower arm, even our neck. This joint is found in our neck to rotate our neck. Then hinge joint, it allows movement in one direction. It is, example is elbows and knees. They allow back and forth movement like that of the door hinge. Then gliding joints allow side to side and back and forth slight movements like in the wrist and the ankles. Also joints of the vertebrae are gliding joints. So wrist, ankle, and vertebrae. Sutures are joints in the skull, not movable. There are 22 bones in an adult skull. All skull bones except the lower jaw are moving, can move. They're called sutures. So not all joints are movable. Joints between some skull bones are called sutures. They are fixed. At the time of birth, a baby does not have fused skull bones, and this is to avoid damage to the brain during birth. So they become fused once the baby is 3 months old. Gliding joints are found in the wrist and the ankles. Limited movement. Hinge joint, elbow, and knee. Again, I will say, know the examples of all the joints. Like knee joint is what type of joint? Hinge, elbow, hinge, and also pivot for the lower arm to rotate. Hip joint, ball and socket. Ankle joint, gliding. Skull joint is suture. Shoulder joint, ball and socket. Wrist, gliding. Vertebral, gliding joint. Now here are some questions based on it. What is this kind of joint? It is the elbow. Here you have the different types. Elbow is an example of hinge. Grasping of tennis ball in the palm is made possible by hinge because your fingers are moving. Hinge joint. This is ball and socket joint in the shoulders. Widest motion is ball and socket, which is mismatched. Wrist is not pivot joint, right? Cranium suture. Cranium is the skull. Cranium and sutures is correct. Shoulder and ball and socket is correct. Knee and hinge, only this is not correct. Where is this type of joint found? In hips and shoulders. Which of the following pair of terms is matched? Which skull and glide, these are all are wrong except this one, it is correct. So you can get it like this, which one is matched, which one is mismatched, or a picture which is disjoint. Again, some more examples. See here, they've asked you the same 4 figures they've given you, and they've asked you which refers to the same type of joints found in the ankles. So ankles have gliding joints, right? A gliding joint is found in the ankles. So none of these are gliding, only this is gliding. Here, because you can see this is gliding. Here it says which one in the hips and shoulders, so it is the ball and socket. That is the last question. Good luck, girls, and I am very confident that you're going to do very well. Only you have to remember, focus on reading the questions very carefully. Don't read it just once and see. Sometimes it is written not, and you just don't read that. So read it like every question at least 2 to 3 times before selecting your answer. And before submitting your answers, for submitting your exam, again review all the answers once. Inshallah, you're going to do very well. Good luck for your exam.